Hello. We are live and doing this on my brand new page. Bourbon is beautiful. It's not because bourbon itself is beautiful. It's because the images that I take with my camera, I hope, are beautiful to those who see it. I've kind of continued to up the game as we go along with the photography, with the bourbon thing. I, why is it fun to take pictures of bourbon? Why is it fun to take pictures of anything? Why is it fun to create art? You got to do something. So this is one of the art things that I like to do, is to take photos of bourbon and try to put it in appropriate places, for the name. Like Rebel Yell, to me, sounded like it was kind of industrial. So I gave it kind of an industrial look when I took that photo. Knob Creek, that's one of my favorite bourbon photos I ever took. I did it in a creek. I took it out to the archery club that I'm a member of, and did it in the creek. So it kind of worked out pretty well. I'm a little close. I'm going to back that up a little bit. There. You'll see the shadow from the lights that we have strung up. I imagine the sun is going to change quite a bit, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of time. We're going to go ahead and get underway. I'm going to check my phone real quick and make sure this is working, because I don't have my technical advisor here with me this time to tell me if it's working. So I'm just going to check it real quick, make sure everything's good to go with the other little thing that I've got here going on. Yeah, it says we're doing it. So good. All right. Sounds good. All right. And I have one viewer. Hi. I don't know who it is. I can't see it. So maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the viewer. Okay. All right. Well, we'll wait just a couple more minutes and see if we can get a couple of other people to join in. And yep. Well, see, now the sun's going to change on me. It's going behind a tree. I can move a little bit. Oh, dark. Light. We'll move. All right. Let's see. We've been about 2 minutes and 48 seconds, and I think I'm still the only one here. If you are here and you're watching, say hello, so that I know that I'm not sitting here talking to myself. Although sometimes I find myself being the best company I can be around. Took some time today, went out to the archery range. We cooked over a fire, had nice venison backstrap and mushrooms and onions and vegetables, and then we went and shot a little bit, shot some of the bags out there. That was kind of fun. And the reason I bring this up is because it kind of gives us a little bit of a precursor into what today's bourbon is going to be. It's another one I've never tried before, and it's one that's a little bit more difficult to find in Ohio. I'm going to post a photo of it now. This is the art photo for today's bourbon, and it is, ta-da! Is it going? I think it went. Today's bourbon is Blade and Bow. Now, when I took the photo, I did it thinking that it was about Blade and Bow, but I was wrong. Blade and Bow has to do with a key, and they hang a key from every bottle, and it turns out that a key was a big part of Blade and Bow's marketing. There were 5 keys to success with Blade and Bow when they first started this company a long time ago. Now they've kind of abandoned the company for a while, and just recently, like, I don't know, within the last decade or something like that, reopened it. All those old bourbon barrels are there. And as a matter of fact, there is a Blade and Bow, there's a Blade and Bow barrel that's a 22-year-old barrel. They've got quite a few of them that are 22-year-old barrels. And now today's Blade and Bow is a blend of the whiskey they're making today and stuff from that 22-year-old barrel. Although they are also selling bourbons from that barrel as well. And that's really tough to find, or those barrels rather. And it's a little tougher to find, but if you can find them, they're going to be a little more expensive and they're going to be good. So we're gonna see if I can figure out how to open this. I wonder if you use the key to open it. Wouldn't that be clever? I think you do. I think you pull up. I think you pull up on the key. Yep, I think that's right. Then you pull off the foil. And there you go. Now I know how to open Blade and Bow. Today's bourbon. A little tough to find in Ohio. I had to get this in Kentucky. But I've heard people talk about this. This is how you always find out about new things, right? And I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try. And I'm going to try Blade and Bow. Now, today, it stays around the cork. That's kind of cool. That's clever. I like that. I got to be careful now. We are once again not using the Glencairn glass today because as much as I like these, I'm going to go with the actual official glass of the Bourbon Trail, which is a piece of Libby glass. And these are gorgeous, and they do a good job. So we're just going to get right into it here. That way we can go ahead and start letting it sit. Blade and Bow, I just like the name of it because it kind of speaks to me, even though it isn't really about archery and it really isn't about knives. It's about a key. Now, I didn't do a lot of research into it, but I would assume that this is the blade and this is the bow, or this is the bow and this is the blade, or I don't really know. But there are 5 different keys that Blade and Bow makes available, and they're kind of a collector's thing, just like the toppers off of Blanton or whatever. And I think it's kind of cool that they have continued this. Again, there was 5 keys to success that Blade and Bow did, and their logo had this, and in the original distillery they had 5 keys that were hanging there as a reminder. And I don't know if they went to doors or not, but that's kind of how they did it. There we go. And like I said, there are 5 keys that you can collect. I've got 2 bottles of this, so I'm going to have to check and see if I have 2 different keys or if they're both the same key. They were both purchased from the same store in Kentucky, not at the same time, different times, but I'm curious as to whether or not this key is the same as the other one. I need to look. This is evidently key number 3. I'll see if I can get it up there and see if it'll focus. Sort of does. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. And I like the marketing. I like what it is they're trying to do with the brand. And I'm really anxious to see if I can try to find some of the 22 year, because as much as I've heard about this being good, the 22 years got to be amazing. And it is a bourbon. It is a Kentucky bourbon. And, they've got the keys on the bottle. I had to put these on and read it. Inspired by the historic Stitzel-Weller distillery, renowned home of the world's finest bourbons, crafted with carefully selected straight bourbon whiskeys, including the last remaining bourbon ever produced at that actual distillery, Stitzel-Weller. The 5 keys of Blade and Bow once hung on the front door of the iconic Stitzel-Weller distillery. These heavy brass keys represented the 5 steps of crafting bourbon and symbolizing the art of making the world's finest whiskeys. Aged in charred American white oak barrels to create a whiskey with notes of sweet, toasted cereal. It's telling me the flavor profile. We'll see if I agree. Warm winter spice and dried fruits. Matured using the rigorous Solera aging method. Preserved our rarest whiskey stocks and the spirit of Stitzel-Weller. So there you have it. This is a 91 proof. So this one's not going to burn me up like some of the other ones did. I'm not going to be surprised by this one. So here we go. I've let it sit for a couple minutes. Normally I like to let it sit for about 10, but we're going to go ahead and give this a shot and see see what we think. Okay, this is Blade and Bow. Not as sweet to the nose as some of the other bourbons that we've tried. It doesn't automatically conjure um, butterscotch or anything like that. It's got a honey overtone, vanilla. The cinnamon is present. I can sense some of the oak, although it's not oak heavy. This is a really pleasant bourbon to the nose so far. I do sense the alcohol. The alcohol is also hanging onto the edge of the glass, so that doesn't mean anything. It's 91 proof, so I'm not going to be as scared. Yeah, this is a very pleasant nose. Well, let's try it, shall we? This is the first one that we've tried where the bloom on the tongue that we've talked about is more present. Um, you get it in the center of the tongue and it spreads. What I caught from that right away was toffee, cinnamon. The oak was much more present on the palate. Um, it's quite good. One of these days I'm going to taste one, I'm going to hate it, and I'm going to tell you about it, and you're going to be all surprised. But I like it. And again, I try all my bourbons neat when we first try them, and that's why we're doing it in this glass or in the Glencairn glass that I showed you. We're not using that tonight. I wanted to try this one. We will be using the Glencairn glass for something else here in a little bit. We'll get to that. This is kind of a special day. So, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm going to give this another idea here. There was something that hit my palate when I first tried it, and I don't know what it was. I recognized it, but I couldn't articulate what it was. And I'm going to see if I get it again now that I've waited a second and my palate's clear. So maybe it'll hit me. But there was something right as soon as I put it in there, as soon as I took my first sip, that said, and I can't tell you what it is now. So, hi, Sam. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, definitely citrus. The first thing I tasted when I put it in my mouth was citrus, possibly orange. Um, it didn't stay. That wasn't the predominant flavor, but that was the first flavor. And you know, there are different areas of your tongue that collect different flavors: salty, sweet, sour. As I let this come over my tongue, it caught the sweet first, and I caught that citrus type of a flavor to it. The oak on the finish, the oak is much more present. The honey stays more present on the finish. Um, the orange is not really there. The citrus is not really there. Um, this is a fine bourbon. If I'll show it to you again for those just joining us. Hi, Tom. Tell the bird to shut up, dude. Man, you need to get outside more. This is why we're out here. Blade and Bow, again, has nothing to do with the picture that I took, which is, you know, a bow and a blade. The blade, by the way, given to me by a friend of mine, John. Really thankful for that blade. It's a beautiful, beautiful blade, and I love it. But it's actually, Blade and Bow is actually referring to a key, and I've talked about that already. And if you want to see what I, said about it, I guess rewind or watch it again after I post it, because I don't want to go too far into the depth of it. So the nose produced honey and toffee and cinnamon and a little bit of oak. On the palate, got citrus right away. And then that brought in some of that oak. The honey was still present. Mm. That flavor, that one was a little more oaky that time. Um, the oak was very present on that particular sip. The palate is going to change throughout the sipping process. Now, of course, we have to do due diligence. Use the ice ball, right? We have to see what it's like on ice. I'm going to cheat. I'm actually going to pour this in here. There we go. And I'll give it just a little more. Just a kind of taste it, Oh. All right. So I know I mentioned that there's a special occasion today. I will get to that. It's coming up. But this comes first. Priorities. Everything is about priorities, right? Right? With ice in it, the bouquet sinks. There's like, could be the glass too, because, again, with this type of glass or this type of glass, this is the official bourbon glass of the Bourbon Trail. This is the Glencairn. These are designed to bring the bouquet of the whiskey to the nose, because we taste with our noses as much as we do with anything else. This being a wide old-fashioned glass, it could be keeping me from getting good nose. Smells sweeter this way. If I really stick my nose down in there, the vanilla is coming out more. The sugars in the oak. But yeah, it's tough to capture as far as bouquet when I've added the ice cube. So let's see what it tastes like. It diffuses everything. Now I haven't diluted this drink because the ice ball is going to be a slow melter. But the flavors are definitely much more present and neat. It isn't as refreshing on ice as some of the other ones that we've tried, like the Peerless. I think I said that one was rather refreshing, and I think I said the same thing about the Rebel Yell. They were both higher proof. This is only 91 proof. So maybe that is part of it, but it's just kind of there. The oakiness is still there. I got the oak is there. The toffee kind of maybe a little bit. It's just it loses a lot when you put it on ice, even though you're not diluting it, because this ice is not going to melt fast. It just loses a lot. So this is one I would never recommend putting on ice. It doesn't open it up; it scatters it. That's really unfortunate for such a tasty bourbon right out of the bottle to just scatter the flavors once you add an ice cube to it. Yeah, that's too bad. Note to self: don't do this again. Not with Blade and Bow. So, all right. Well, okay. So we've been at this now for 19 minutes. I suppose it's time to uncork my little special occasion thing. I'm kind of looking forward to telling you about this, and at the same time, I'm kind of not looking forward to telling you about this, because I have to do something when I tell you about this, and I don't want to. Okay, so today is April 11th. It would have been my dad's 84th birthday. He was born April 11th, 1936, and passed away in 2014 at the age of 78. He would have been 84 today. It was funny because he swore to me that he was 79, and he wasn't. He lived his life doing math. He was a financial clerk in the Army. He became a controller at General Motors, then a controller at Huffy Bikes, and then from there he went on to become an accountant at Foot Foundry, which later became, at least part of it became Dana Corporation. And then from there, he went on to become a general manager and vice president at Braun Industries in Oakwood, where they manufactured ambulances. And so he lived numbers his entire life, and for him to not be able to do the math and figure out how old he was kind of funny. Because he didn't lose his faculties. He did die of a dementia called Lewy body dementia, but he never lost his sense of humor. He never lost his smarts. He never lost his presence of mind. What happened to him was he saw a lot of hallucinations and ended up watching a lot of television, because the more television he watched, the less other stuff he saw. But my dad would have been 84 today. And normally what we do on his birthday is we go to Red Lobster, because that was Dad's favorite place. He really always loved Red Lobster. And there was one point where I helped my sister get a job at the local Red Lobster, and that made him love it even more, because he could go and he could have Red Lobster, and then he could see my sister, who didn't come over a whole lot, working, had kids. And so he loved Red Lobster even more. He'd go over there, I don't know, I think every week and have lunch at least once. And then birthdays, if it was my birthday, he wanted to take me to Red Lobster. And if it was his birthday, we went to Red Lobster. And he almost always got the same thing. He got the Admiral's Feast, which is like all fried. All of it's fried. And so today I'm going to drink something in memory of my dad. And I don't want to, because my dad had terrible taste in bourbon, and he always iced everything down, and he was cheap. The scotches that he would buy, he had like Lauder's Scotch, and he had Cutty Sark, and they're shit. They're awful. They're terrible scotches. And his taste in bourbon wasn't a whole heck of a lot better. And he would ice it down too. I don't wanna. This was his bottle. He kept a small little stash of cheap, crappy booze. Over time, I started to help him get better booze. But he didn't drink a whole lot. I mean, he drank beer more than anything else. He liked beer. And when we went out to Red Lobster, he would drink a big old Bud Light. I mean, it was a tall baby. Or Applebee's or wherever. He'd get a big Bud Light. He liked Bud Light. He also liked craft beer, because while he was living here with us before he passed on, I had a big old, what do they call them, a guzzler, or I don't know what they call it, big growler full of craft beer. And we sat out here on the back porch before the deck was built, and we drank this craft beer. And I had like a glass out of that sucker, and he downed it. He loved beer. Matter of fact, I think the first beer I ever had was with him at a Reds game. I was 5 years old, and he gave me his iced down Stroh's. He was not a man of good taste when it came to alcohol. And this was his bottle. This is what we use occasionally when we want to make pecan pie with bourbon in it. This one is 80 proof. I mean, you could probably buy this on the shelf at Walmart. I don't know. They don't sell good stuff there. But it is bourbon, and for it to be called bourbon, it has to be at least 80 proof. It has to be aged in newly charred oak barrels. So it at least did that much properly. in honor of his birthday. It's on ice even. All right. We're going to give it a proper tasting. You know what? Proper tasting. In honor of Dad on his birthday. I told you we were going to use the Glencairn glass. We're going to use the Glencairn glass. I still have all his booze. I have all, I mean, well, some of it I drank. But this I still have. Yeah. I know, take it to the head. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fill this sucker up with this garbage. No. Thank you, Amanda, but no. All right, so we're going to give it its proper tasting. Something on my glass. All right. It's like paint thinner. I will tell you, I have had some of this when I haven't wanted to open a new bottle and I've been out of my cheap stuff or I've been out of my regular stuff and all there is to open is the hard to find stuff. And I really would like something to drink. I have opened this and I have drank it. I have not liked it. And I'm not going to like it now either. So, but I'll give you proper tasting. All right. This is my dad's Echo Spring. This has probably been in his cabinet for 20 years. And that's a cool thing about bourbons is they don't go bad. As long as they are not out in the sun or in hot situations, as long as they're capped, they don't go bad. I mean, a bourbon, you can have a bourbon last 100 years as long as it's in good condition, as long as it's kept in the right place, it'll last forever. It's not like wine. I mean, wine has a peak and then it starts to decline. Champagne, we found out on my wedding night. We were saving a champagne for a long time, and we opened up the champagne on my wedding night, and it was flat. we still had a glass of it because, but it was really kind of a bummer to have, flat champagne on your wedding night. But hey, nothing but second best for us, huh? All right. So Echo Spring Distilling Company I am just not wanting to do this, and I'm hesitating. So, okay, so, God, it has nose of pepper. Something like dates or like a dark fruit, raisins maybe. It's definitely got a fruit overtone, and it's a dark fruit. It's not like a light sugary fruit. It's almost got a rum type of scent to it. All right, down the hatch. Rest in peace. Happy birthday. Strangely enough, and this isn't the first time this has happened, and I take this in juxtaposition to the other bourbon that I drank, but on the first taste it was buttery. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. I like that. There's been some times I've had some other bourbons that kind of came off as buttery, and I think it's a good attribute. Jefferson's. There's a Jefferson's bourbon, and I had. There's one that they age in a wine cask, or Cabernet is what it is, Cabernet cask, and going from that to the regular Jeffersons made the regular Jeffersons taste buttery. So that's kind of what I got from this is buttery. peppery. It wasn't aged very long. It's not good, um, but it's not horrible. Dad would put it on ice all the time. He never drank bourbon straight that I could ever remember. He would drink Kahlua on ice, and he would put Kahlua in his coffee. But Dad would never drink, uh, that I remember, bourbon straight. And a lot of times he liked his beer on ice too. So um, yeah, so well, okay. It's it isn't good, um, but it's not horrible. I've actually had bourbons that I didn't like more than I don't like this one. Um, there was a bourbon that had been recommended to me called George Dickel, and it was a 12 year. And people were like, "Oh, you got to get this. You got to get this. Make sure you get the 12 year." And I did, and it was everything I could do not to dump that down the drain. I didn't like it. I drank it. I finished it. It took me a long time, and I have another bottle of it downstairs, and I haven't cracked it, and I'm probably not going to because it just isn't very good. Um, this is better than that, even though I don't really care for this. But again, the taste goes back to putting it on ice. This is the way Dad drank it. We are looking at Echo Spring. Don't, just don't. And this bottle's got to be 20 years old. I bet this bottle's 30 years old. Um, so for it to hold up this long, I mean, he kept it in a cabinet that was dark, and he kept it inside the whole time. I mean, it never was in um, any kind of condition that would make it go bad. Well, worse. But this is how Dad drank it. He always drank it on ice. He'd use like ice cubes. And I'm using an ice ball because it still has not really shrank much. So these don't dilute the bourbon um, very quickly. They will in time, but they'll last a lot longer than just tossing in freezer cubes. And the clear ones that I make, they dilute even slower. And one of these times we'll do a talk and I'll show you about the clear cubes. I'll show you how we do it and why it works, so on. So here's the ice down Echo Spring. Again, Dad, happy birthday. 84. Or 85 if you're doing Dad's math, but 84. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember him ever mixing it with 7 Up or anything. I bet this bourbon would be great in a mixer, like in a Manhattan or an old fashioned or something to hide the flavor, I guess is what I'm getting at. Maybe a whiskey sour. If you are looking for a utility whiskey, then Dad's Echo Spring would probably do okay. If you're looking for the type of whiskey that I like to drink, this ain't it. Okay. So we recap. Today we tasted Blade and Bow, which is hard to find in Ohio. You can find it everywhere in Kentucky. This is really, really good neat. It loses a lot of its picture on the nose, on the palate, in the finish, all of it. It loses a lot of it when you ice it down. So I'm going to recommend Blade and Bow Neat. It is quite flavorful. It's it's tasty, and it has these collectible keys, which are kind of cool, and they just go right around the cork, and you pull up on the wire to open the bottle. So that's kind of neat. We're going to recork that and save that for a special occasion again because it's actually quite good. And the other one we looked at was my dad's Echo Spring because today would have been his 84th birthday, and it's a good one to use in pecan pie. It's a good one to use in a mixer. If you are desperate for a drink and you need some bourbon, it's not the worst pour in the world. So kudos, Dad, you did something a little okay when it comes to your bourbon. It's just not good. It has a built-in pourer. Woo! So I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're doing okay during this quarantine. Me being a bit of a introvert, it's been fine for me. It's been fine for my son. I have been getting out and shooting bow a little bit. Today we went out to the bow club, the archery club, and we cooked venison steak over a fire and mushrooms and onions and vegetables. And if you don't have good friends that you can sequester yourself with, find new friends, because it's the people that we love that'll help get us through this. And I count you among them. So thank you for being a part of this particular broadcast. See if there's anything I'm missing here. Tom's been talking. Amanda, yeah, don't drink the Echo Spring. But with that, I'm gonna say goodbye. We've gone 36 minutes, and that's 6 minutes longer than I wanted to go. So I bid you adieu. Happy birthday, Dad. Stay safe.